Strengthening your core isn't just crunches and sit-ups. Let me tell you this. A lot of people think about crunches and sit-ups as being the end-all be-all when it comes to working your abs or working your core. But when you're working your core, you have to think about not just your abdominals, but you have to think about what your core actually is. Your core is your torso down to your hips. Essentially, it's the parts of your body that support your spine. So you want to have a strong torso, strong hips, and that'll help you support your spine, okay? So that's the philosophy behind working your core. Now, what exactly does your core do? All right, so as I said, your core actually supports your spine, but what your spine is doing, why your spine needs support, is because it's going through multiple planes of movement. All right, so we'll talk about the three basic planes for your spine, and we'll actually discuss why those planes are important to work. So first we have the frontal plane or the coronal plane. That essentially cuts your body from front to back, okay? So when we're thinking about these planes, you want to think about how the body moves through these planes, okay? So if you were to take my body and draw an invisible line from one ear through the other ear and essentially splice my body from front to back, that would be the coronal or frontal plane, okay? So as I said, you want to think about your spine moving through these planes. So as you're moving through this frontal plane, you're going to be moving side to side with your spine, okay? So you want to practice anti-rotation and rotational exercises. Essentially, these are exercises that help you rotate your spine or rotate your spine or rotate your spine as well as prevent that rotation, all right? So you want to stop that rotation as well as promote that rotation. So as we're doing an exercise when it comes to working your frontal plane, you want to do an exercise maybe that can help you stabilize on one side as well as help you contract on the other side. So essentially what I'm saying here is that if you have like maybe a weight on one side of your body and not on the other side, that is essentially what we call a unilateral movement or a unilateral exercise, meaning that you're going to be working one side over the other, and that's going to help you with your rotation and your anti-rotation. So one exercise you can do is you hold a weight in one hand, you can march. That's kind of like holding your groceries in one hand, or you can hold it over your head. That's going to help you as well. And those exercises, as I said, are going to help you in that frontal plane. All right, so the next plane we're going to be talking about is the sagittal plane. The sagittal plane essentially cuts me right in the middle of my forehead, goes all the way from the top of my head, obviously, all the way down through my bottom. All right, so what we're going to think about is moving forward and backward, all right? Stabilizing the spine as it goes forward, stabilizing the spine as it goes back, all right? A good exercise for that would be a leg lift, just lifting your legs up, stabilizing the spine, or maybe a deadlift, all right? Or like a Romanian deadlift where you're holding the weight and just bringing it down, stabilizing the spine as you go forward with a load. And those are two great exercises that are going to help you stabilize through that sagittal plane. Again, we're thinking about how the spine moves through these different planes. And for our final plane, we're going to be talking about the transverse plane or the cross-sectional plane, all right, depending on who you ask. And that essentially goes right through your hips, okay? So you think about that, how do we move through that way? Well, that would be a twisting motion, all right? You see as my hips are rotating through that through that cross-sectional or transverse plane, okay? So any kind of rotational exercises that you can execute are going to be great for that sagittal plane, okay? So say maybe like a Russian twist. Now, one thing that you want to be careful of, as I say that, I just reminded myself, one thing you want to be careful of is that you don't want to put too much load on your spine. I see a lot of people when they're doing an exercise like a Russian twist, they have a heavy weight and they're just throwing the weight side to side. That's really not a good idea. Whatever you're doing, whatever exercise you're doing, you want to make sure that you can control that movement. You don't want to just throw your body side to side because that's going to cause irreparable damage on your spine. Your spine has to take that load, or your spine has to stabilize somehow. And if it's too heavy for your spine, well, you're going to have some kind of degenerative issue that's going to happen eventually from repeated exercise. So what you want to do, if you're doing like a Russian twist, start off with just your hands. Exercise by keeping your torso as tall as you can and just rotating side to side. All right, so those are the three major planes that you can move your spine. Obviously, we discussed those before, but just to review, we have the frontal plane, which cuts your front to your back, also known as the coronal plane. We have the transverse plane, which cuts your body top to bottom, also known as the cross-sectional plane, and the sagittal plane, which cuts you from side to side. All right. So hopefully those helped you in creating your exercise program when it comes to your core. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comment section. We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd also love for you to subscribe. So hit that subscribe button down below so you can be notified when our next video answers your questions. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep good company.